I'm not going to bury the lead. In issue number 9 of Ignited, which was supposed to come out in June, somebody's name is missing from the credits. Did you forget about Kwanzaa? Because I know I do every December too. I'd love to think this was because he's not writing that issue, but it's probably because they forgot to put his name on his own book. So let's just get into this. Again, we've got Wade and Kwanzaa, or at this point, maybe just Wade, a line in the opening summary. Quote, "A mass shooting at Phoenix Academy High School in Arizona did more than leave multiple victims dead and the community reeling. 6 students gained super abilities and decided to use their newfound powers to become activists for a brighter tomorrow." You misspelled terrorist and world domination. I can see how you could get those confused, what with your political ideology. These kids have not done a single thing to help anyone other than the GIMP healing some people in a hospital. Their entire motive from the start has been selfish and enacted with violence against their teachers, fellow students, nonviolent protesters, and law enforcement. At every stage, instead of trying to calm things down or talk to anybody, they attacked anyone who disagreed with them, and then used even greater force when those people tried to defend themselves. They're not activists. They're homegrown terrorists. It continues. They've been called everything from heroes to terror. Who's calling them heroes? I've read every issue of this comic. Where did that happen? Hell, Kwanzaa said on Wade's now deleted Facebook page that they really weren't heroes. So who's calling them that and why? Because nothing these kids have done is remotely heroic. Then it says that the so-called Phoenix 6 stepped in to save a girl who was falsely accused of being one of them and was attacked by mind-control students. That's not what actually happened. What happened was that she was falsely accused and her normal classmates challenged her. Then her psycho-stereotypical Mexican illegal immigrant cousin showed up, and then the kids became the so-called rage zombies, which discount Milana Torres, codenamed Terror, that's her real codename, blew up the school wall and floor to escape. The cousin ran away, and then the other Antifa wannabe terrorists showed up. That's what actually happened. My favorite part, though, is this, quote, "Caleb, Luther Ray, Anouk, and Marisol. What happened to Et Viral, Et Mashup, and Et Wave? It's like y'all suddenly became aware and realized how stupid those names were and now want to pretend you didn't use them, but we know you did. I'm sure that the reason will be that the kids were doxxed, so there's no need to use code names. You keep telling yourselves them lies." Anyway, it says that some of them were captured in jail, but 2 of them weren't. So they just show up to the jail to join their friends in solidarity. To be clear, they broke into jail to sit with their friends. As you do. Then it says, quote, "Once radio personality Brent Smith decided to reveal their real names to the world, however, Kayla, Marisol, and Shay busted out of jail to exact revenge." Yes, that's exactly what a hero would do. Someone doxes you and then you go and quote, "In retaliation, they destroyed Smith's posh home. Trust us, he deserved it." Jesus, even when you try to make them sound like the good guys, they still sound like villains. It wraps up saying that they were surrounded by Homeland Security, and the comic picks up with the GIMP, Little Miss Terror, and Radio trying to run away from DHS, to which the GIMP says, "Beck, we need to take those guys out." So to be clear, they've just blown up someone's home without knowing who's in it, and now the feds are on them, so they want to attack the feds. Heroes. Remember that word. Heroes. So Little Miss Terror says, "Are you high? Aren't those feds?" Which you would think would be her trying to talk reason into this dude, but no. She's not against attacking them. She just doesn't think the GIMP is powerful enough to do anything other than, quote, "give them hives." This is like the 3rd or 4th time they've started the problem and then acted like the villains when someone takes the appropriate action. You have no business being at this man's house. You literally broke out of jail to go blow up this dude's home, again, without bothering to check to see if anyone was inside. Everything about this makes them look like villains. There's no reason to root for them, which is why when the GIMP gets a call from Discount Alex Jones saying, apparently live on air, that he's going to make their lives a living hell for blowing up his house, I'm like, cool. I don't have a problem with this. These kids have committed multiple felonies, state and federal, shown no regard for other people's lives, and don't even have a good reason for doing what they're doing. I have no problem with this dude bringing cancel culture down on them. Go ahead. So then they panic. And Radio decides to deal with the situation since he's a walking light bright and these 2 other idiots need to hide in the dark. So he goes back to the police station and tells the feds that they have hostages, which I guess is a good play, but you're going to see even little old sweet Shay is just a sweet terrorist, like Katra from Gundam Wing. But the Gundam pilots are actually better people, and they were literally murdering everyone in sight. Even when Catra lost it and started slaughtering civilians, he was still a better person than any of these kids. Just keep that in mind. Speaking of keeping things in mind, you may recall that the original premise of this book was for the kids to push back against gun violence by opposing anyone having access to guns. They, and I mean Wade and Kwanzaa, used the pretense of a school shooting and arming teachers to make this argument. But by issue 4, there were scenes of the characters breaking into gun shops and destroying the guns, and doing the same at a gun rally, which got completely thrown out the window in the last issue when all the Antifa wannabes' parents armed themselves to fight the feds. So the teachers can't have guns to protect the students because some of the teachers might be racist. Not a joke, that's actually in the book. But the parents can have guns to protect their kids from being arrested for their multiple terrorist acts. In other words, law-abiding citizens can't have guns, but criminals can. This is a naked contradiction. You can't have missed this. I don't think either Wade or Kwanzaa are that stupid or unaware, so they either thought no one would catch it or they didn't think it's a contradiction, which in both cases I would ask, what the fuck are y'all smoking? And I really want to know because you have the sheriff of a town going from trying to stop these kids when she doesn't know who they are, to siding with them when the other parents show up. This is a cop taking up arms against the feds to protect her terrorist son she literally hired mercenaries to try to deal with a few issues ago. Now she doesn't trust the feds over her own officers, which makes no sense. There's no reason for her to have conflict with DHS. Wade, I know you're a better writer than this, so I'm going to assume this is a Kwanzaa thing. Why didn't you fix it? It's obvious to you that this makes no sense. Why didn't you fix it? Fix this now. Anyway, the Gimp's stepfather has a moment of common sense and says, why the hell am I going to jail because your kids are freaks? And Radio's dad gets pissy about this and calls him an asshole and says they're in this together. Why? This is literally happening because Discount Lestat's mom turned heel for no reason. I haven't seen a heel turn this sloppy since episode 3. They have no reason to support these kids, especially not the Gimp, who poisoned his own teachers when they wouldn't comply with his demand to oppose teachers carrying guns. But no, Discount Lestat's mom sides with her terrorist son and plans to create a distraction to help the kids get out. Now, this is stupid for many reasons, but only one of them matters, and that's this. They don't need a distraction. Lucy Liu here can transform anything into a two-dimensional object. She can do it to herself and to other people. She actually does this later on. This is how they get away. But during the back and forth, she never mentions this. They're worried about a distraction, but she can literally run on the ground. In fact, when they get out, they don't even create a distraction. It's been 10 minutes since Radio said they had hostages, and the feds are inexplicably just standing there waiting, not trying to talk to anyone to find out who the hostages are or how they're doing. So the kids literally walk on by, as you do. Anyway, Radio appears and distracts the cops at the station, and then he goes back to the guy's house and wrecks the feds' helicopter lights. So they just leave. They don't land nearby, and apparently they never call for backup. So just 2 whirly birds, that's all you sent. More feds show up in GTA than at this active terrorist scene. So Radio leaves to go back to the station while the Gimp and Lil Miss Terror decide to continue to take revenge on Discount Alex Jones. Heroes, remember? Heroes. Meanwhile, Discount Lestat tries to answer the question of how they got their powers and manages to say the name Dr. Zhao. I know it says ZH, but it's pronounced J. Way back in issues only 2 people on this planet read, the kids mentioned that this grief counselor named Dr. Zhao did something to them to keep them from being able to talk to anyone about their powers. They could talk to each other, but to no one else, and even then they couldn't really talk about her. But somehow, fear of his mother's safety breaks the spell, so Discount Lestat spills the beans. Then White Bitch decides that she wants everyone to meet up at an old bank to regroup and leave. Back with the Gimp and Lil Miss Terror, they decide that they're going to physically attack Discount Alex Jones. Heroes, remember? Heroes. But Radio appears to tell them about the new plan, so they steal the guy's truck by hotwiring it. We get this little moment where both these idiots reveal that they're colorblind, and Lil Miss Terror, in the most abrasive way possible, tells the Gimp to heal himself so he can tell which wire is what color. And of course, he still can't tell red from yellow because he's never had to. They somehow get it to work anyway, and then Discount Alex Jones shows up out of nowhere holding a shotgun and fires it like 6 feet away and still misses, even though he clearly shot this kid in the head. Back at the station, the kids decide to leave and lock their parents up to make it look like they were actually hostages and not helping them. This is meant to be a touching scene of the kids sacrificing their family relationships to protect them. And it would be, but for the pesky fact that this is all their fault. They wouldn't need to worry about their parents had these little Antifa wannabes not terrorized people. All this is happening because they're violent, politically motivated, unhinged terrorists. Had any of them shown up to actually stop a conflict and then it escalated, you could feel sorry for them. But since they literally started the conflicts, you don't feel sorry for them at all. Even worse, the way all their parents except for the stepfather just instantly support them rings hollow. That's just not how people work. That's not how they react. There's more nuance to it, no matter how progressive these people are. But all that's gone in favor of all the adults siding with known terrorists without questioning anything. Not continuing to love their kids and wanting to help them, but literally breaking the law and finding it unjust that anyone wants to arrest and detain them. So after this, the kids escape and go to find Dr. Zhao to see what she did to them. And in the next issue, and this is the real text, look at the screen, real printed text, quote, "But when the young activists, they find themselves in a prime position to dish out some well-deserved justice to someone who escaped the long arm of the law, will their newfound notoriety be their downfall?" 2 points. 1. Rob Levin, Amanda Lucido, and the Larger World Studio. Did none of you see that massive typo? When the young activists, they find themselves. Nobody caught that. Nobody. Nobody proofread the script or the finished book before it shipped. Is this also why Kwanzaa's name is missing from the next issue? Did you forget to credit the guy who co-writes and created the damn book? Nobody caught that either. He better not be writing the next issue, otherwise that's just a glaring mistake. It's his own book. Jesus Christ. 2. Did no one catch the irony of the Antifa wannabes going after someone who escaped the long arm of the law when that's exactly what they've done? The cover has them camping in the woods, so I know it's going to be some white nationalist militia dude who eats babies and jerks off to gay black porn, but come on. You have to see the irony and gross contradiction and hypocrisy of the premise. You're going to have to come up with some very convenient, very cliched person to capture to make them look remotely redeemable. But I'm looking forward to it, because then I can make more videos, and then someone can make money off this book, because it definitely won't be YouTube. But what do I know? I'm just some guy.